Long ago, when humanity only spoke one language, they decided to build something magnificent, a tower to the heavens. They baked their bricks and they bound them with tar, and then they said, "Come, let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered over the whole earth." This is the story of the Tower of Babel. Early in the book of Genesis, there's a story about humanity being united by one language. And they were so enamored with themselves and their ego got so big that they decided to build a monument, a tower. By doing so, what God did was he scattered their tongues and scattered them across the earth so that everyone spoke different languages. It's about society or humanity wanting to make a name for themselves. Now, I know you're asking, how does this relate to Bitcoin? The Tower of Babel wasn't just about height. It was about permanence. It was about humans trying to inscribe their value into eternity. It was the first monument to collective ego, but what followed wasn't unity, it was confusion. God scattered their tongues, and in a single instant, a shared network of understanding shattered into 1,000 dialects. The story of Babel isn't about divine punishment. It's about what happens when the language of meaning gets confused with the language of ambition.
The Apostle Paul says that God is not mocked. For what a man sows, that will he also reap. And so I was trying to think about this, and I'm like, okay, so basically that's saying there's no free lunches. There's what you sow. There's a correlation, 100% correlation between what you do and there being consequences of that action. And so I started to think about what are other places where you see this dynamic. First of all, that's just logic. That's just how reason works. Reason says if this, then this. This is how seeds work. You reap what you sow. You don't plant orange seeds and get apples. That's just not how it works. You get, things that correspond with the kind of seed you plant. And so again, the thing that really kind of hit me as I was, thinking about this was because I'd been thinking about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is fresh in my mind, was just okay, so fiat money denies sowing and reaping. It denies this relationship between, there being a cost to the production of money.
Money has always been a kind of language, a way of saying, I value this, you value that. A shared syntax of trust, if you will. But somewhere along the way, our financial tongue got scattered too. Once, gold was the common speech of value. Then came a more dominant dialect, the dollar, much like English. And then we began printing and printing and printing. And the more we printed, the less we said. The words lost weight. The grammar broke. The language of money, once rooted in the scarcity of time, now became a dialect of illusion. Walk through any museum and you'll hear the same story. 100 tongues trying to describe beauty, but no shared translation. That's our monetary system of today. Many are speaking, few are listening. The euro, the yen, the peso, the yuan, each an attempt to rebuild the tower. And like Babel, every empire's tower collapses under the weight of their own misunderstanding. Because when the unit of value can be conjured by decree, it can be inflated or manipulated, redefined, it stops being the language of truth. And it starts just being noise. Now, how does Bitcoin fit into all this? Well, let's explore. But before we do, we're going to need some gear. Sat123.com offers practical gear for a world that values self-reliance. They have a variety of products for all of your survival needs, like Faraday bags, solar power generators, and satellite phones. And if you go to sat123.com right now and you put the promo code SIMPLY, you'll get 15% off your purchase. Stay sovereign, stay connected with sat123.com. If the Tower of Babel was the beginning of dispersal, Bitcoin might be the beginning of reunification. Because beneath the noise of modern finance, beneath trillions of printed words and worthless promises, a new language emerged. Not one spoken by governments or banks, but written in code. There's something that music, math, chess, and Bitcoin all have in common. And that's that they all speak one language that everyone can understand. They are all languages that have a clear rule set, regardless of your native tongue. I could be a French speaker, but I'll read the same jazz as an English speaker. 2 + 2 = 4, whether you're in Kyoto or Kansas. A C major chord sounds the same in any ear. A bishop always travels in diagonals. A Bitcoin transaction is true for everyone, everywhere, all at once. Bitcoin gives us a ledger that everyone can read, where fiat required interpreters, central banks, clearinghouses, intermediaries. Bitcoin removes them. 2 people anywhere on Earth can now speak the same monetary tongue, and they can verify what the other says. Where fiat scattered us through distortion, Bitcoin unites us through verification. Where old systems required belief, Bitcoin demands truth. The people who built the Tower of Babel thought they were as great as God, but God severed their communication lines. When communication fails in civilization, no one trusts each other. And what do you think the dollar's doing right now? It's causing us all to mistrust our prices around us, our very communication system between us, regardless of our native tongue. Prices are a communication system, much like chess, music, or Bitcoin. Just another way that people that don't speak the same language can speak the same language. But the dollar distorts those prices rapidly, so we are finding it harder and harder to communicate. Bitcoin fixes those communication lines with its 21 million hard supply cap, self-sovereignty, its ability to hold it by yourself. The mechanics of Bitcoin's policy are built within it. It doesn't need an entire system around it to make decisions about which 2%, 3%, 4% inflation rate. So maybe building the tower wasn't the sin. Maybe it was just the attempt to do so. From Babel to Bitcoin, we're not just rebuilding a new tower, we're rediscovering a new language. I'm Tom with the weather. Back to you, Susan. So this Bitcoin thing starts to sound pretty good. But if you want to earn more Bitcoin, you can go to Sazmining.com. Sazmining runs hosted Bitcoin mining powered by clean hydro energy. So you can literally turn renewable power into digital gold. They handle the setup, the maintenance, and the uptime. So your mining rigs work for you while you sleep. And if you go to Sazmining.com right now and you put the promo code SimplyBitcoin, you'll get $100 off your first rig. Book a call with one of their expert team members and start mining today at Sazmining.com. If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, and you want to see more, make sure you hit that like button below, or you can subscribe to the Simply Bitcoin channel for more content like this. We're coming out with it every single day of the week. Also, don't forget to hit that notification bell. I'm Oceans. This is Beyond Bitcoin. Until next time.